Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Ms Nhi Podcast. You guys know how much I love to share about my life experience. You know how much I love to share about all the valuable lessons. And today, together with me again, another special guest that I want to bring his inspired story of his life for you guys to know more about behind the scene of every successful person. He have a story that make them no choice that to change to be better for themselves and of course for the community, for the world to be a better place. So thank you, Pham, for being here today. And let's introduce a little bit about you and let's share with our audience about who are you and what you've been doing.
Hi, Nhi. Thank you so much for having me here today. It's been a pleasure. So my name is Phan. I originally from Quang Ninh, Vietnam. I came to Canada in 2017 after finishing my bachelor degree in Foreign Trade University in Hanoi and worked for 2 years at Techcombank Hanoi. And after I came to Canada, I studied more on the data side, and I have been doing data and BI developer roles in CIBC since 2020. And right now I'm a data architect and engineer. And I love what I'm doing about data and data science, data analyst. Yeah, I think that's mostly about me.
Let's share a little bit about the background and the turning point of what is your story and background behind, like how do you manage to move from Vietnam to Canada and start your new life there?
Yeah, it's a very good question. And actually, it's a thing I really want to share. So when I was in Vietnam, I have a job before I graduated from school, which is pretty good. I was working at the Techcombank, which is a big bank. So for most people out there, it's kind of like a dream job when you graduate and you already have a job waiting for you. So you don't have to worry much. And I didn't worry much either. Right? I have enough money for my daily spending. I always have a dream to come study abroad because once my neighbors, when I was young, he said that if you come to another country, let's say a Western country that has been developed for a long time, then you bring your next generation up for like 300-400 years of development, which like I say it kind of true. Let's compare Vietnam to a Western country. It may take like 300-400 years for Vietnam to get to the same stage of development as like Canada or US, right? So that's why I always have that dream. And at the time, it is kind of hard for me to live a good job, a good life, a balanced life that I have. My mom is around. Everybody is supporting me. I go to work. I go home. The food's already ready for me. I don't have to do much. Just enjoy my life. So it's very hard for me back then to make a choice to come to Canada. And yeah, after I come to that, a lot more hardship was coming. So yeah, it's a hard choice, but after some time it paid off. Now I have a very I say better life than I had in Vietnam before.
Yeah, oh my god, you know, this is what I say in Vietnamese we call vượt sướng. Because vượt khổ is like something that's just so easy because you have no choice that you have to come up. But I think the vượt sướng is a new word for this generation that I figured out that and don't get me wrong, I have a lot of students under me that same, they come from very rich background, they come from very wealthy background, or they have a very comfortable life, exactly what you just explained, that they don't have to book so much effort. That like in Vietnam, if you come from wealthy family, it's easier for your family pass you back land or wealth or money and you just continue. So that's something that for me, I have to give respect a lot, and I want to highlight that because everybody's life is different. And sometimes you would think like, oh, this guy must be go through tough life to be where he is. But sometimes for him to break through the cycle of good life and make his life to fulfill pursue his dream, you know, and it's very impressive. So let's go a little bit of the early on when you just moved to Canada, because trust me, when I just moved to Singapore, the first 3 years is a disaster. You know, you have to learn the culture, you have to learn everything again. You go there alone by yourself to start life alone, or you come with like family member or...
Yeah, so when I decided to come to Canada, my girlfriend and I was trying to come together, and we married right before we came. So we came as a couple, a married couple. And yeah, she's been with me married for 6+ years, almost 6.5.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So, yeah, as you said, a lot of people know the story when they come to another country from Vietnam. We have to give up everything. I have no relatives here. Came here
Definitely.
with only like my parents, and I'm not coming from a rich family. Like my parents were teachers, so they earn enough for me to have a comfortable life, but not like rich, right? So yeah, you know what I mean. So I don't have a lot of money. I came here with $10,000 in the bank. That's it. And it's Canadian dollar, so it's similar to Singapore dollar, I think. So we like the first year was terrible. So we came out as a student, but after the first month of school, I figured out that the program is just too easy for me because they were like a college program, and I already graduated from bachelor degree in Vietnam. So I dropped out, and my wife continued studying while I was trying to find a job to get some money for the family. So the first I think the first 3 months I couldn't find anything, and then it come December time, which is Christmas time, where a lot of people shopping. So I found a seasonal job which allowed me to work in the warehouse. So I work there. I have to wake up at 4 a.m. to go to work because the shift starts early because I couldn't find another shift. There's only half that available. And every day I have to walk around the warehouse for 15 kilometers in safety shoe, which is heavy, and it's protect your feet from heavy objects. So this is very heavy and hard to walk on. It's not like just running shoe or anything. So it's really hard. And after that, December ends, the job's gone. I found another job which allowed me to do audit in own kind of grocery store. When I had to do what I had to do is count every item in the store and record in the system. It was kind of okay, like not too bad, I believe. But the hour is terrible because I have to wake up at like 3 a.m. to do that because they don't want people to do the counting and inventory during the customer visiting hours. So they wanted to do either early or really, really late. So I woke up at 3 and get home like really, really late too. So it was hard. And a lot of time when I was counting stuff on the shelf, like nail polish, it's really shiny and it's hurt my eyes. And also maybe because it hurt my eyes, but I was crying a little because I was thinking, what am I doing with my life? I have a good life, a good trajectory. Like I graduated from school, I have a good job. I can be a manager in a few years. Like why I dropped everything and came here? Why did I do that? So I questioned a lot of things about my life, my decision. And actually, this might be a long story, but after the first year, I decided to back forever. So I bought ticket one way to Vietnam. I tried to drop everything, and we came back to Vietnam. But before we came, we have a trip around a few cities around my area. So we went to. So I'm in Toronto, and I went to Quebec and Montreal, which a few like 600 kilometers away. So that's the first trip I have in Canada, first vacation. And it gave me some energy to recharge myself. And after that, I figured out why not just give it another try, because I think the first year is the hardest year you can have when you came to a new country. You have to get comfortable with new stuff. Everything is new and nobody consider your skill valuable. Like I came from Trade University, which is, I would say easily top 5 in Vietnam, but nobody knows it's here in Canada. So it's kind of upside. And yeah, so I say, okay, I give it another try. I try to go to school again because for me, I think go to school is what I do best. I can learn very fast and can outperform most of other students. So I decided to give another the chance. I bought ticket before I came back. I bought ticket go from Vietnam to Canada. We get back home, have a good trip, visit some of the friends and family, try to recharge ourselves after the first very, very hard year. And then we came back, I go to school and everything get up from there.
It's very beautiful story, and it's not a long story, by the way. I have to tell you, my goosebump is like keep continuing come up, and that's why I love this show. One thing that because I know, I've been doing YouTube for the last 5 years of my life. It's a lot of experience I go through with a lot of influencer like you that nobody care about our life. You get what I mean? Like when we do YouTube, people just ask more about us, and they never really care about how much painful experience we have to go through to be where we are. And trust me, the story you just share, I'm so related. I'm there. I was there. I was exactly at the moment that should I break it or should I give up and go back to Vietnam? Because I'm not sure if you watched the movie Matrix, right? But if you go back, it's like, it's like exactly the same thing that we would do daily, day by day, the same thing. Because before I moved to Singapore, I have a business in Vietnam too, right? To sell off the business and give up everything and move to the other country is a doubt, is a fear, is the question. And again, it's like, why am I do this for? Is this exactly what my dream is? I'm not sure. Should I go back and do what I'm good at? Because there, people prey my ego. And back then I was young. I don't understand that. Now I realize that move to other country is not only helping me, but I have an opportunity to help other. So thanks for sharing that. And again, don't think that your story is long. It's inspire me. It's inspire me because, to be honest, I watched some of your video in your channel, right? And you have an extremely smart brain. I have to say that because trust me, it's not everything that you share. I only can learn in the level of survey understanding. You get what I mean? Like I understand what a data analyst. I understand that you have to collect information from client. You need to use that for business. And even my own business right now, I have data analysts. I need people to collect information from my client and then study about that. So they can report to me so I know what's the next marketing I need to do. I need to know what is strategy I need to deal with my business. So your job is extremely important, but at the same time, it's not easy. It's not easy because even when I learn psychology, they have this part too. And I almost fail because it's so much number, so much study, so much data you need to collect. And I almost tell my professor, oh my God, why you need to add this? You want to fail me, you know? And with us, when we speak our own language, already difficult. And I cannot imagine how you can speak in the different language, professionally deal with this. It takes an extremely strong personality and strength inside. So, and you have a very positive mind as well. Because in the story you just shared with me, at that moment, you're supposed to give up and go back to Vietnam, but you still just take a break and rest and still come back. Sound is so easy right now, but I don't think it's that easy at that moment. So how was that for you when you come back from that decision?
Yeah, it's actually
from yourself.
Yeah, thank you. It's actually a very, very hard decision. So I have to say my mother was playing a key role in that decision because for a lot of people, parents in Vietnam is kind of like person that you look up to, but you will not share much with them. Most of the case, they're going to push you to go to study, they push you to go to good school, but you cannot share your idea with them if you have different idea than what they have. But for me, my mother is, my father is like that. He is very hard. But my mother is kind of like my best friend. I can share everything with her. So is one of a kind. Like I don't think I never meet any other friends that have mother like that. But I really appreciate that what my mother did to me, for me, still doing right now. But now she had a lot more friends, so she spent less time with me. But so we actually having call every day. One day we say, okay, I go back, I do this, I go to this company, I already send out my resume, I work here, and you help me to cook, you help me to clean, I just have to go to work and go back home, that's it. The next day, it's a different story. Like, what if I stay, I find a better job, I can send money for you, from here is way more money than I can earn in Vietnam. So it's continue like that for, I say like 2 weeks, like every day is on and off for every day for about 2 weeks. And then what my mother told me is, she said that, because the thing I really worry about at the time, I was 23 when I came, and then after 1 year, I was 24. So at the point, some of my friends were already a manager, and I didn't stay, so I couldn't become manager or senior in the team. And I came to Canada, so what I did is I compare myself to them. I say, I came here, I have nothing. My friend in Vietnam already become manager. So I stay here 1 more year and I came back. It's kind of too late because I was down and they already managers. Be friends with them anymore, or like I feel shy about that, right? So for me, what I learned is it's nonsense because you should stop compare yourself with other people.
Yeah.
Nobody is the same, right? So that's what I learned from that decision. So what my mom told me is you came into Canada for 1 year and you build the root, the foundation. So first year is very hard, but it's very important. And everything else, that's going to be easier for sure. Why don't you give it another chance? Give it another year and see. Go to school, study for 1 year. You can find a job, you stay. If you cannot find a job, don't do some labor job and let's go back to Vietnam. You still have Vietnam as a fallback option, and don't compare yourself to others. Because like if you're good, you can catch up in no time. So actually, I think everything is very true in that statement, and I appreciate that. I agree with that, and I say, okay, this time I go back, but I don't care about getting permanent job, getting a permanent resident in Canada. I just go to school and I just keep following what's ahead of me, not looking too far. And then I found a job. I found a full-time position, and then I get my permanent resident in Canada, and everything just go. And I didn't have the full plan. It just go, but I didn't have to look. And when I first came, everything is so stressful. My plan was I'm gonna finish study in 2 years. I get my permanent residency in 3 years. Have to have full-time job right after graduation. Because I planned for too long, and it's just so stressful about that. So yeah.
Wow, your mom sounds like amazing Vietnamese woman that I would love to meet her one day if I have that opportunity, please. And why I'm saying that because it's as a mom right now, I know how tough was that when you love your kid at the same time. You have to give your kid room to have to live their life, but at the same time, more than that, you also have a fear that your kid may fail. But even we know fail is a part of life, right? How was mom motivate you in life, and how was that? It's important that you thinking everybody outside there that is a value that every family should have. How was that impact you from having a mom amazing like that?
Yeah, so a lot of people said that I have good genes, I'm smart, I'm intelligent. But I think the thing is more important to me is I can share everything with my mom. It's kind of like having a best friend that never betray you, say, support you everything you do. Like I still don't know how she did it because I'm at the point where I will have children soon, right? I don't know how I teach them, how I take care of them like my mom did. She never had to ask me to go to study. Like she it's kind of weird because she found a way to encourage me to study myself and find the fun is in learning. Like she doesn't have to force me to go to study. Like my friends, they always help their mom to push them to go to study, and then if they have good grade, they have some kind of reward.
Yeah.
I have 10 grades every time. I have nothing, but I still want to do it. Like it's not because of brilliant. I just want to do it myself. So it's kind of weird how my mom encouraged me to do that. But I think the way she's being my friend and try to talk and share everything with me and make me understand why I need to study. She not tell me to hey, go study, right? She explained to me why I need to study this, why is this helpful in the future, and I just do it myself. So I think that's very important.
Beside of your mom, just now you mentioned with me that you have a lovely wife that been with you for the last 6 years as well. I think blessed that we're in overseas in the period that we already stable our career before the COVID hit. I think most people get hit very hard in the COVID. Let's bring a little bit at there, like how was COVID for you and how do you and your wife manage to keep the relationship and also a personal life in the middle of then COVID?
Yeah. So I have to say my wife is a antisocial person. So she don't want to go out to meet new people. She just want to stay home most of the time. So COVID is not very hard for her because it forced everyone to stay home, right? And she's lovely. So it's not much a problem. For me, before I came to Canada, I was a very outgoing person. I made a lot of friends outside during school time or work time. So yeah, like everybody in school know me, everybody at work know me. Kind of something like that. I try to make new friends, talk to new people all the time. But when I came to Canada, suddenly I became antisocial somehow. I don't know. Maybe because I, I think the main reason is that
we grow actually. The environment really changed our brain because I have the same problem like that. It's just you have nothing in common to talk when you go back Vietnam with another Vietnamese. Doesn't mean you look down on them. It's just you know different thing and you don't know how to explain to them. And if you explain to them, it's very sensitive. The conversation start become, oh, so you think you go foreigner now, you big F. And then it just shows that we shut up. And then we realize, oh my God, it's so hard to get back to that friendship. And it just have to accept that we grow, like we grow different. Yeah.
So back to that story. I came here. I don't have new friends, so I've been here for 6 years, and I have like 5 friends in Canada. And I don't make new friends. They just came up naturally. Like maybe we live together or we work together. So that kind of thing. So I don't have much friend here. And fortunately, there's one friend from my university class came to Canada. She just got the PR from Canada. So I would have another long-term friend here, which is kind of nice. But so back to the COVID situation. So I don't have new friends, but I don't mind. I stay at home, and the biggest thing is, as I said in 2018 when I go back to when I went back to Canada and I go to study, and I found a co-op, which is like an internship 4 months in CIBC, which is the bank I'm working at, and it's 4 months, but I performed really, really well that I got a returning offer for 2020. So when COVID hit in March of 2020, I already have my offer for April. So after my graduation in April, I just went there, and it's very lucky for me because I don't have to chat about it. Like at the time, a lot of people graduate and they couldn't find a job for a year or maybe a year and a half. And I know. So this was very fortunate for me that I already have a job waiting for me. And because of COVID, it's getting harder to get to a full-time position, but I get extended internship, and then I get into a full-time position. And my lesson is, at the time, it's a downtime. So a lot of people, they just stay home. They do nothing, watching TV, watching Netflix, and gain weight, right? So initially, I gained some weight, and during COVID, I lost 13 kgs.
Wow, that's a big number.
I would gain all of them back now. Yeah. But during COVID, we have more time to exercise, right? Because it's work from home. So, and then I study a lot. I get field certification from different vendors to make myself more valuable to the company that I want to apply for. So I just think that it's a downtime for everybody. If you can do something to add more value to yourself, it's going to be more than double the amount you put in, right? Because normally everybody work, but at the time everybody relax and you work, then you gain like more double than what you put in.
You actually have a very, very positive mind. I'm very impressed, really. I'm very admire that. I'm very impressed with that. Do you think that you're born with that, or is that like training for you to be here? Or what is advice you give to young people to can create this mindset like you, that through your personal experience?
Yeah, I would say it come up mostly from the way my mom teach me how, like, so I have positive mindset because she is very positive. She look at everything positively. So that I just learned it from people around me. So my dad look at most of the thing negatively, but my mom is more positive. So it kind of balance out, but more on the positive side for me. Everything you can look in life, you can look at it in different perspective. So if you spend some more time, look at it different way, you may find the better perspective. For any kind of problem you have, if you just chill out a little bit, think more about it, you might find better solutions. Not everything is so hard in life, I believe.
That's a beautiful statement. You make me feel more confident as a mom, because now I look at you in the way I look at my daughter in few more years, because I was very positive mom as well. And sometimes she come home and cry with me because she like, mommy, my friends say that their mom asked them to study and you don't even ask me to study, because I'm exactly like your mom. I doesn't care if she bring home like good grade, because that's just how updated. And I'm learning psychology, right? I have a degree in psychology, so I'm very aware that pressure is good, but too much pressure it build a toxic child. So it's the amount of good pressure will build them a good lifestyle habit, but too much pressure will build them hate toward study and find a job in the future or build a dream, because they just hate it because you make them become a robot, right? And it's very hard to balance that. So thanks to just make me feel good a little bit. Even you just know me. Thanks. Another question for you. Another question for you, that because now get back to your career, that again, I don't know how many times I have to say I impressed. First of all, you're very young, and as a young man and talented, and have so much inside you that I can see for the next 5-10 more years. You are you are already valuable for any company that lucky to have you, and you are already valuable for this world. Especially the value that you bring on the table. Even the conversation I have with you, you really bring me so much joy. As an interviewer, I feel like, oh my God, it's so easy to have a chat with this person because he's just sincere. He's just honest and he just be himself. And I think this is one of the key that most people don't realize. Sometimes be yourself is take practice, but also own it. So if today you have a conversation with a young boy, I will talk about young boy because I find men is harder to influence than women. Girl, they have a little bit more emotional. They can go with another woman like me and they have a conversation is easier. But men, I think the ego part is one of the big topic and around the world, not even with Vietnamese community, right? If today you meet a young boy and he asks you, just assume he 18 or 20. He lost in life. He don't know where he going, what he should study, how he can break the chain of the culture in Vietnam, and how to find his dream. What advice you will give to that young boy who feel down right now?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, chill out a bit, right? Just let's give yourself a break, because I know if you are Vietnamese, you will have a lot of a problem in life. It's so much pressure all around us. You have to finish secondary school to get into good high school, have to finish high school and get to university. I had to find a job, like everything laid out for you with long-term plans. So I said when I came to Ghana, when I have a long-term plans with everything, it's so much pressure. So that thing one step at a time, or maybe two, right? So I don't say just don't make any plans. Make plans is good, but just don't put too much pressure. If you cannot make 5-10 years plan. You just can make the achievement, right? So in 5 years, I want to be this, I want to be that, but you cannot make the whole plan to that achievement because it's too far-fetched and things change every day. So what I would say is give yourself a break and try to find your passion. A lot of people debate about it, going with your passion or going with something that's valuable and people pay money for it. So the best thing you could do is find something that you love to do and find something that's very close to that passion that paid a lot of money to do, and then find something in between, right? So like for me, for example, I love working with numbers, and I study finance because I love working with numbers. But when I graduated, I found that, I want to do more with computer than just number. So and also software developer get paid a lot. So I want to just switch to the side when we do more coding. And that's why I find data. So it's come very naturally. But I would say that for me, if I can change something in my past, I would find some mentor. I think mentor is very important because, like, for example, if I can tell myself 5 years ago something from my knowledge now, it's going to improve my process so fast, right? So for a young boy like 18, 20 years old, need to find someone to mentor you, to help you, guide you in life. It shouldn't be your father or mother because they there's an age difference is too much, right? So they wouldn't know much about the current world, like that's what you have to face every day. So that's someone like 5 years, 10 years older that achieve something in the same field, and they can help you to learn about yourself. Not like they can help you to achieve what they achieve. Maybe they can achieve more in that field. You can find that you didn't really like that field, and you like different field, that you go to another field and find another guy to mentor you. I would say that.
Oh, that's a very good advice. Oh my God. You so much wisdom for your young age. Another question. Do you have your own mentor? Because that is something that I've been nagging on my channel. And people keep thinking that, oh, she tried to ask me to be her mentee. I say, no, find any mentor in your industry. And I say exactly the sentence you say. Do you have your own mentor in your industry?
So I have my old boss who worked with me at CIBC. I consider him my father figure here because I came here with no family, and he got me into the bank. He giving me the job. He helped me guide me in the field because not only I come into a new field, I came from finance and I have to be in technology, right? I work in data, but mostly technology, not business side. So technology is. Most of the people in that field have computer science background, and I didn't. And it's a new country, new field, everything is new. So he helped me a lot. So he was my mentor, but he's retired, and I have less time to talk with him. So at this moment right now, I don't really have a mentor, and I'm looking for one.
Yeah. It will. When the student ready, the universe will send. That's what I believe, because I was stuck at the same, when I have my first mentor, and oh, it's not enough. I'm done what I need to learn. What next, and then you have a second mentor and third mentor. And now I have 3 very good mentors who guide me different direction in my life. And I'm so agree with you. You need mentor in life. I'm not have a female mentor. I would love to have a female mentor, but all my mentor is tough men. That's also something like you say, father figure, that my parents will never give me what they give me. Knowledge, life wisdom, experience, very harsh, very harsh, very tough love, a lot of discipline. But I forever thankful for all the painful lessons they give to me, because without the truth, I think the truth is important. Mentor will give you the truth, right? Mentor will tell to your face and don't care about your ego. They will give you fact because they want you to be improved and better, because it's easy when you get fame and money and success and you forget where you come from and you forget how far you still have to achieve. So I agree with you. Mentor is a key factor, because they've been there. They go to the direction that we want. We want to go the same road that they've been going. They will success on that field. And that's the key. Oh, I love your advice. Oh my God, I love the conversation with you. We need to do more episodes, please. We should do more episodes in your channel and my channel. You're such a smart guy that I would love to have you in my show all the time. I love to talk to smart people and come from heart. It's important. You have to smart, and then you have to become from here. And I can feel it. Now I want to go back to your channel. Why? Because I love to promote good people. By the way, guys, all the information about Pham is under the description below. Click the description below. Come to his channel. Follow him. Subscribe him. Study his video. If you guys don't like number, I don't care. You just have to study. Why? Because it's important. Every people that I bring to my channel, I believe they're important. Every knowledge they share, even you learn a little bit, go for it. I'm not a number person as well. I think by now Pham already can say, oh, she's not a number person. Yeah, I'm more about a people person. But doesn't mean that I don't appreciate, because one of my mentor is scientist. Scientist is a kind of another level of brain. When he talk about number and all that, I'm get lost. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what the heck he's talking. It take me 3 months to understand one basic thing he talk about science. And that's why I so much appreciate with people with good brain. Because you guys have a different kind of brain. I cannot explain. But you can take so complex information and you can innovate something, or you can create something. How that can even possible? And that's something I think people don't cheer it up for people with IT or technology or finance because their talent is different. You know, they're not boring. They are actually very genius. They just, and at least you have a skill of speaking as well. I think that's amazing. You can share your knowledge. I think you will be a wonderful mentor and teacher for the next few more years when you grow more, because you're already amazing, like a guy with a lot of wisdom. So let's go to your YouTube channel. Why you decide to start your YouTube channel and what's the purpose behind that?
Let me rethink. So I think the first few videos I was doing is just capturing my life in Canada, got to share with my friends. COVID time, so I have a lot of time on myself. I go out running, I record a video of beautiful nature in Canada. So I did that, but it's only for my friends and families. Nobody really want to look into my personal life like that. And then it came where a lot of people, when they have time during COVID pandemics in 2020, they want to learn about data. And in Canada, we have a community and people ask around, and I put in a comment down below. I said, hey, you want to learn about data? You can call me, we can have a chat. And like I made a comment, and then a few people replied to me, say, can I join the call with you as well? So I got around 20 people who want to do that. So I say, yeah, that's come from comment on Facebook. And they say, okay, so I don't want to call individually each of you because, take a lot of time, like every people 5 minutes. Couldn't talk much about 5 minutes. And then it's 20 people, so it cost me a lot of time. So why don't we have the Zoom call all together? I explain some stuff. You can ask a question, we have a good chat together. So that is my first big hit on YouTube, which I think have like 40K views right now, which is the sharing I did about data analytics, like what is data analytics and how you could study to be in the field. So that is a starting point of really doing a YouTube channel for other people, not just sharing my life, but sharing my knowledge so other people can learn from it, and I can take a lot of comment and improve on myself as well. So after that, I did a few more videos sharing about different things in the field that I learned about how to get a job in Canada, for example, or how to build your portfolio as a data analyst, that kind of stuff. So I think like to be mentoring one people, it costs you a lot of time, but if you spend some time to do a YouTube video, you can share it with millions of people. Like I don't say have a million viewers, right? But yeah, it's out there.
Soon.
If people want to watch, they can watch. And what I think is knowledge is better share, not just keep it yourself. So why don't we do that more often? So that's why I did YouTube, and I hope I have more time to do more of that kind of thing, sharing my knowledge, sharing my ideas, chat with different people like you, right? But recently I got a bit busy with house and cars and payment and stuff. So it's been down a little bit in my YouTube channel.
Me, I'm totally understand. It's not easy to run the YouTube channel. I have a whole army behind me, by the way. People think that this girl do all this by herself. No, I have a whole army, few hundred people behind me to take care of all my channels. So it's really a big cost. It's a big investment. Not only your knowledge and time, it's also a big commitment. I will have to say that. And of course, we would love to collaborate with you if you're looking for that. It's mean like, because you love to share so much, and in my community, we teach everything. So my team, beside of contribute this back to Vietnamese, they always have a small Zoom call like what you've been doing, teaching about IT stuff, English stuff, marketing skill, editor, everything. So that's what I've been doing for the last few years. Besides of sharing my knowledge, I open the door for people to learn, because I know how important internet is. Even I'm not good with internet, but I never use that excuses to stop me to learn all this, right? And even now we have a whole team behind that develop AI for our own system use. It means like we go to the next level of committed to bring education, which is like this kind of education to Vietnam. That's why in this video we have Vượt for a reason, because I have bring a lot of guests who are English, and and this is a lack that I see in Vietnam, right? You have a lot of smart people like you. We just lack of English to can observe all this information, and I don't want that gap to slow down Vietnamese. So that's why I commit to build all my channel with both. It means I take all the complex information and I want to use AI to help me to transfer that to Vietnamese, so Vietnamese also can touch all this information to improve their life for themselves. I'm not even asking they can build whatever, that's something that's too big, like you say. Don't have a too big plan. I don't have a big plan. I have very basic plan that, okay, as long as today I can save one people just by my video. Save here is like, I can never give them money enough. But if I just give them knowledge and they use that to make a living, I already saved one person's life. That's how I see things, right? And that's why I love people just like you, like, oh, I don't like you. You sound so cute when you say, yeah, I don't want to teach everybody like 20 people. No, waste time. Just book all together the same Zoom, because I did the same thing. That's what I love about smart people. We lazy, so we want to do things, do more with less. You know what I mean? Come on, just come and watch my YouTube channel. I'm done. I'm done with you guys. Stop asking me advice. Can you just go and watch this video that I already write that advice to someone? That's it. It's so simple statement you just say, but it's so powerful. I love it. Oh my God. Pham, you don't know how much we similar. Even we're not the same, but we kind of a little bit similar in that. I'm lazy. Trust me, I'm lazy. I'm very lazy. And because I'm lazy, everything that my team bring up to me, I will have to come with solution. I will have to have a system. I have to deal with this. I say, I don't like people ask me the same question 100 times. How do I deal with this? How do I give them the answer that they just... So that's why even my whole team, everything is run by video, the same video, people learn the job. So this person get out, another person, system. I love system. Oh my God, I love system. I don't know how much I tell you about that. Maybe another other episode. And I hope my team will take care of you well before I enter this Zoom, this call. Because that's what I've been built from day one as well. Professional. I want to bring a best service quality that I've been experiencing in Singapore, but in Vietnamese people. That's something that I'm so proud. I'm so proud to be Vietnamese. I'm so proud that we also can learn and apply and use what the world been doing. Right? So yeah, go to his channel, subscribe his channel. If you love what he's doing, contact him, disturb him. Even he busy, I think he don't mind to help you guys if you sincere enough. Now let's go to another future conversation. So I mentioned about AI, and I also know your career. And what do you see the world changing when AI will apply? And what do you see the people that interested in the career that you've been? Do you think it still have room for them? Do you think is that too late for them to start learn this, or still have opportunity? And what the people that are going to enter to your industry, they should learn and be preparing, in your personal opinion?
Yeah, this is a very big topic, so I try to put my honest opinion, but I cannot say I will be 100% sure or correct, because it's very big debate out there, right? But AI is a big change, very, very big. I have been using AI during my work life. I've been using Copilot, which is a ChatGPT version for coding. And this is sometimes better than me, I have to say.
My team say the same.
And it learned very fast. Like even when it started, it's dumber. It's have a fast, worse answer. But then after some time, it's getting better and better. So I have to say it's getting very good. And people in the field have to prepare for it. You have to involve. Right? You have to learn new things in this coming change when AI is coming for our jobs. I will not say that AI will take our jobs, but it can change the way you do your jobs. So if you can use AI in your day-to-day life, it's going to improve a lot of things for you. And if you resist the change, it's going to become very hard for you. If you don't want to learn things about AI, you can apply in your daily.
I think he has give very valid point, and I agree with Pham on this. And I mean, why I'm saying that as a business owner and run business, AI will be involved a lot in my business for the last 1 year. Okay, and even me myself, like what Pham just say, if you resist to learn, it's very hard. And that's what every morning when my team give me some update about AI, I will like, oh my god, again. Like when you just change the system and it's something new, that it make whatever you just learned for the last 3 weeks useless completely, and then you have to learn the whole new thing again, and something new come up again, and it comes so fast that no matter how fast you can adapt, you feel annoying, you feel again. And I realize it's not only me, my other friend who run business from other part of the world, we go to the call, we complain the same thing, because we are people type. It means we deal with people emotional, we deal with deal with your team member emotional, mentally, lead them. So we are leader. And for us to deal with the computer is something that drives us nuts. And then we have to keep motivate our team, and then we don't know how to use the word to motivate them because even them themselves are like, oh, the AI is updated again, So yeah, what do you want me to do? So it's kind of chaos. But at the same time, I have to say that I can see a lot of opportunity. I don't know if you see that, Pham, but I see so much opportunity. If this opportunity, when people start taking action, if they really start study, like you say, like you have to be self-learning a lot and apply it, you definitely have a lot of opportunity. Let's talk about self-learn. I don't know why suddenly that's come up, because you mentioned a lot that you love learning. I love learn too. And I realized I used to feel upset when people lazy learning, and I don't understand why. And then I realized that we just different. We mọc sách, you know what I mean? We are definitely mọc sách. Like we love to learn. Tomorrow, if I wake up, I don't learn something new, I feel dumb to myself. Not the world, to myself. I feel, oh, you're so useless today. You didn't learn anything new. How useless you are. Go learn something, right? And let's talk about self-learning and pick something you learn. How do you deal with so much information in the world and select what you want to learn? Again, it's your opinion, personal opinion. How do you deal with that? Information is just too much.
100%. Yeah, I have to agree with you here. It's very, very hard question, where we are kind of person that like want to learn everything, right? Everything feels so valuable. Why don't I just learn this? And then you have 100 ideas around you. Like, what do you want to learn now? It's very, very hard question. So I would say, if you have a mentors, come check with them. And they can give you best plan, I would say, because they know about you and they know about what they did to get to where they are. So they have better idea of what you should learn that will give you the most value for the time you spend on learning, right? You want to see about the cost as well. Let's say you spend 10 hours learning one thing and then another 10 hours learning another thing, but the second thing earn you 5 times more money or something. Then yeah, it's you spend the first 10 hours very costly for something that is not very important. So yeah, learning new thing is good, but also you need to adapt. When you need to change your plan. If you see that, okay, this thing is not very important, after I spend a few hours on it, I feel like I get the idea of it and I don't really want to go into it too deep. So I would say I have a very big problem that whenever I try to learn something, I spend way too much time optimize my plan. I didn't even start to learn. I have my plan.
Procrastination, you mean?
Yeah, it's not only procrastination. I try to find the best course, and then which one is the best. I spend a lot of time researching, and then it just costs a lot of time for not much, because the best or the second best is kind of similar after all, right? It's not like 10% different, but then you don't really want to spend a lot of time. So of course, procrastination is one thing, but another thing is if you want to learn something, maybe just go out and find what is the most well-known course on the platform, like maybe YouTube, Udemy, edX, or whatever, and go study it and spend the first 3 hours of the course. And if you don't like it, then drop it and go next. You don't want to spend too much time finding the best course, best teacher, best platform and best value for money. I also have to say I was a cheap person. I'm still is. I'm still am right now. Like I'm very cheap and I'm thinking, okay, this course is $10 on Udemy, but it's have 10 hours. Another course is $10, but have 6 hours. So I would pick the one with 10 hours because more hours on the same amount of dollar, right? Yeah. So it doesn't make sense. Because if the course is longer, then it takes more time to teach you the same stuff, which is not good.
Yeah.
But in the quantity, and it's 10 hours, it's more. So just don't think about it too much, guys. That's if you want to study something, go out, study it, start right away. It's better. Like if you just spend more time investigating, picking up what's the best tool, what's the best class to join, and then you just procrastinate yourself.
That's so fun of you when you're sharing. I'm still cheap up to now. I love that honesty. Trust me, it's so amazing when I can meet someone that as honest as me on my YouTube channel. You know, this is the one thing as a YouTuber. I don't know if you realize that, but people who off camera may look different with how they in camera, and that's something I don't like. I'm on camera or off camera, I'm the same freaking person. And I love people who are willing to admit who they are, because that's the most, I tell you, this the most attractive ever on earth right now. Because when everything is copy paste, AI take over everything. Trust me, some of my channel, the AI posts for me. It schedule everything. I don't even look at it. It's how boring was that, right? We need some human fun like this in life, admit that we make mistake and we fun and we have this. It's okay, it's my problem. I want to fix on it. I would love to have a longer conversation with you. And just with this conversation with you, I have so much idea of what we can do together. I even think of, I should invite him to my Vietnamese channel. Let's do a Q&A with my audience about AI and new technology. Since I have a lot of Moc Sat watching my YouTube channel too, they should learn about this. Like all the group of Moc Sat like them, it's fun. We should be fun together. I'm sure they have a lot of Q&A. You know how many young people watching my channel, and I would love to have you in more of episode. You were so fun to be with, and I would love to see your channel grow more. I mean, don't give up on it. Don't quit. Trust me, a lot of Vietnamese will need all this knowledge that you share. I'm talking to you like I'm talking to myself a few years ago. Don't quit. Some of people in Vietnam need you. Don't quit YouTube. So trust me, it's not. When you do it long enough, you're less motivated, and then you need someone like you come to the show to motivate me again. One last question of today, and again, oh my God, I have a wonderful time with you. I don't even see the clock running. And this question I ask all the guests when we have a close up for the live. What life lesson that you want to give to anyone who watched this video for the last 1 hour with us, the journey they've been with us for the last 1 hour? Because for me, time is the most valuable thing in life. It's the only currency that I think it should be used. And they've been used 1 hour with us, listen to our conversations, learning about what you're sharing. And I'm thinking they already have a little bit connection with you by now. What a sharing that you will have to a young person that's just watching this conversation with us? What a life lesson you want to share to them?
Thank you. I would say I don't want to be cocky to give out life lesson. I just think that my advice for people, for my honest opinions, is that right now I think the most valuable skill that you can have is learning how to learn. Everything can be learned in this environment, and you have to learn new things fast and adapt to new things. So, if you already know something, it's good, but it's better to have the skill so you can learn other things as well. So I would say that's my advice for every young people out there.
Pham, you're amazing young man. I have to say that. Thank you to be here today. Thank you for come to my show. Thank you for accept the invitation. It's mean a lot to me. You've been a wonderful guest, and I really looking forward to have more opportunity with you. Please just drop my team a text and whatever that you, because I know you just mentioned just now you've been busy, but I would love to have more collaboration with you. Education is something that I'm very passionate about. And for me, someone that as passionate as me about education is really bring me a lot of inspire of, oh, okay, I should not quit, I should continue doing this. And thanks for continue add value to the world. Thank you to use your valuable time to give back as well, sharing your knowledge and support our community and support people around you. You've been such a wonderful experience you just give me, and I wish you health. I wish you success in your career. I wish your channel will grow more. I would love to have more people subscribe your channel, and I would love to see you more often. And thank you so much for today. I really appreciate you today in my show. Thank you so much,
thank you. Thank you so much. It's been great.
Yeah, and guys, don't forget to like, share. Yeah. Oh, he still wants to share something else. Yay! Tell me.
Sorry, if I go over time, but I just have to say you have a very great platform and you are an awesome interviewer. So you gave me a lot of chance to express my feelings, share my story and ideas. So I really want to thank you for all of that, and I hope that we have more time to collaborate in the future. I can work with you more often. Really great today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Pham. And Guy, again, all his information is under the description. I would love you guys to go there. If you love me, please come there. Support him. Support another amazing Vietnamese. We are bring the best Vietnamese in the world together to bring more knowledge, to positive, to help more young Vietnamese people. Never ever I feel this strong and confident on that because the world is changing. And I don't think it's cocky when you share your experience. I also don't think that it's something that you should hold back because, at Asian, we would think like, oh, I'm no one to share what I should share. I'm no one, I'm still a lot. I should be humble. For me, this is what my mentor shared with me. And I just want to share with you like a friend. Don't worry about overrun. I can run another half an hour. My mentor said one thing when I will refuse to do YouTube channel. This is what he told me. He said, in the world have a two type of leader, the good leader and the bad leader. The reason why always have a bad and toxic and nasty leader come up, sell stupid thing, talk shit, because strong and good leader never feel they're good enough. They always hold themselves back. They so humble. They feel they never learn enough. They never feel they're ready. And they choose to be silent. Silent is a choice. Don't want to take the role as a leader is a choice. And all that choice contribute to the consequence that bad leader will always raise up. And that's hit me so hard that I decided to do my YouTube channel. It hit me so hard that no matter how much nasty comment, no matter how people tear me down, I still believe that I want to give my knowledge away to young Vietnamese. I still believe that true and sincerely and powerful knowledge will change people's life. How my mentor did to my life, and the same way that I want to give back to our country, our people. I'm deeply, deeply believe in knowledge. I'm truly believe in knowledge. Knowledge plus action change people's life to powerful. And you guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next episode. And thank you to be amazing guests today. Bye, Pham. Thank you for watching the video. If you like what you're just watching, if you like all the valuable lessons that all my guests been giving in this channel can have more people come to learn a valuable lesson like you. And also will help us to be able to bring guests to our channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I will come back with you with another episode and another amazing guest. Bye.